Hey everybody, it's Emily at ARG Schooling, and this is going to be our final video for my what we're doing for homeschool curriculum this year for 9th grade. And we're going to talk about online classes that she's taking and electives, as well as what's in our morning basket. So I wanted to start with our electives, and that is not a lot this year. We're going to be doing an ASL class. That is her foreign language that she's doing. So we're going to be doing ASL. She did a course last year at the end of the year and really enjoyed that. And that was the beginner class. So this first semester we're going to be doing the intermediate, which will be, I think, another 16-week class. And it's a really great teacher. She really enjoyed the way the class was taught and how it was explained and everything. So that is going to be what she's doing the first semester. I found this class on OutSchool, by the way. Also, she's going to be doing coding through Khan Academy, which I have no idea how it's going to go yet. She's never done anything from Khan Academy before. I have to figure out how to set it up and all of that jazz. So, but it's like an intro to coding, basically. So we're going to be doing that probably the whole year. I don't know how long it's going to take us to complete the course, so I'm going to assume it's a full year class. And then her other elective is art. So for art this year, we have 3 different resources that we're using for now, and one of them is Art That Changed the World. This is a DK book, and it's beautiful. It goes through, oh my god, it's too big to hold up for you guys like this, but it has like full color paintings and information about them, and it goes through history. So we're going to be doing a little bit with that. That's going to be kind of like a crash course introduction to art history. We're not delving too deeply into it yet, but it'll just be like a nice intro as we study history. I also have The First Signs by Genevieve von Petzinger. This is Unlocking the Mysteries of the World's Oldest Symbols. I found this book absolutely fascinating. I don't know that Regina will, so this might get set aside, but we're gonna try to read through it because I just think it's really, really interesting to learn about like how humans have always used art for different reasons, and like how this art translates to like early writing and that sort of thing. It's just a really interesting book and an interesting perspective that I hadn't known before, so I found this really cool. I don't know that she will, but we're going to try to read some of it. And we're also going to be going through the Mark Kistler You Can Draw in 30 Days book, and we're going to do this together and just practice some basic skills like perspective, shading, that sort of thing. So we're not going to do it in 30 days though. We'll probably do like 1 or 2 a week until we finish it. And then in the second half of the year, she wanted to do digital art, so I'm going to find her a digital art class. But before we do that, I wanted my husband to work with her a bit with Photoshop because she's never used it, doesn't really know anything about it, and I felt like she should have a little background in that before jumping into a class. So that's the plan for art. So then I want to talk about what's in our morning basket. And you may be thinking, why are you still doing a morning basket? It's high school. I still think it's a great way to start our day. So basically what we have going on here is I have a stack of books here. I'm going to show you all of them. We're not doing all of them every day, and I'll explain that as I go. But we're going to be doing like one of these things plus our read aloud. And that's it. That's our morning basket time. It doesn't take a super long time, but I feel like it's a great way to kind of kick off our day and get us in the right mindset to start the rest of our school day. So the first thing we're going to do on Mondays is poetry. But also poetry is also an everyday thing this year. She's always really enjoyed poetry, so I wanted to make sure we included that on a daily basis. But I wanted to start also reading this book called What is Poetry? The Essential Guide to Reading and Writing Poems by Michael Rosen. This is technically middle grade, but I feel like it works really well for 9th grade too. And it's all about like what poetry is, how do you read a poem, how do you write a poem, different kinds of poems. So it's a really great way to kind of go through the year. We're going to read it slowly over the course of the whole year and alongside that, we're going to be reading through these two books from Level 9 of Build Your Library. I have Poetry 180 by Billy Collins and Mary Oliver's A Poetry Handbook. This is just a poem for each day of the year. So we're going to read one poem every single day. And then this book is more about, like, again, what is poetry and how does poetry work? And it talks about different kinds of poems and gives examples. So this is more of a, like, this goes more along with this, but I felt like this might be easier to understand at first before we get into this, but together I think they'll give us a really good poetry course. So depending on how much we get out of this, this might end up being another elective course. Then on Tuesdays, we're going to be learning about religious beliefs, and not really religious beliefs, but like religious stories. Because I really think it's important to have that foundation before you start diving into literary analysis and stuff. And we are going to be doing a lot of that too, but I wanted to cover the basics. So I only have this book right now. I don't have a Christian Bible. I have the Children's Illustrated Jewish Bible. So this is more like Old Testament. But we're going to read through this. It's a children's Bible, yes, but I really like the way this one is written. It's very literary. And it covers the stories pretty well and gives the basic idea of the story and what happened. I may or may not attempt to find something to cover the New Testament stories. I don't know yet. I don't know if she's interested in that. We might do a little bit of it just for background information. And she also requested we do some other stories too. So we have In the Beginning, creation stories from around the world. And this is exactly what it says it is. Creation stories from different cultures around the world. Pretty basic, but really well done. So we'll be reading that on Tuesdays. Wednesdays are going to be learning about fascinating people. That's always been like what we do. We read about interesting people. And I have 3 different books for that. One of them we started last year but didn't get all the way through it. And the other 2, one is brand new and one I've had on my shelves for a while. So the brand new book I have is Resistance Stories from Black History for Kids. I thought this would pair nicely with our history curriculum that we're doing. And just add a little something extra. This goes all the way through history. So it starts with like migration out of Africa, I think. And talks about the civilizations in Africa and goes all the way through history to modern day. So I thought this would be a really fascinating extra thing we could add to our history, but do it in our morning basket, just to kind of expand on the stories we learn about in history. Because I feel like it's important to add that sort of thing in, to talk about different cultures, to talk about different perspectives. I feel like this would be important to pair to our history because we are doing more science this year. Last year was our astronomy year, but we didn't finish this. So I wanted to go back to Galaxy Girls, 50 Amazing Stories of Women in Space by Libby Jackson, and read the rest of these. I also have Rad Women Worldwide. This is, again, just a simple biography about a person. So we're going to read those, because the book I use in level 8, I think, the Amazons, and I can't remember the name of it, but we already read that. So I didn't want to do that again. So I thought we would do this instead and learn about some cool, badass women and interesting Black history. So then on Thursdays, we're going to be learning how to spot false information. And we're going to be reading True or False, A CIA Analyst's Guide to Spotting Fake News by Cindy L. Otis. I found this when I was trying to look for some kind of critical thinking type thing. I knew I wanted to study media literacy and focus on that for a while because that's such an important thing to learn these days. And I found this book and it had really good reviews, so I'm hoping that we like it. It's specifically for teens, which is what I was trying to find, because so many times I was finding books that were more written for adults, and I wanted to make sure I found something for teens specifically. So we're going to be working our way through this over the course of the year on Thursdays. And then on Fridays, we're going to be doing civics. So we're going to start by reading the Constitution. So I have the United States Constitution, a graphic adaptation. Technically, this is in level 12 of Build Your Library, and I feel like we'll get to it again there, but I wanted to read it this year too. Going into an election year, I feel like that's really important. We're going to be doing a lot of stuff on elections too over the course of the year. I also have For Which We Stand. This is How Our Government Works and Why It Matters by Jeff Foster. We started this last year, but I kind of want to start over and just go through it again because there's a lot of information here, and it does start with like topics like what is the government, the different founding documents, how does government work, political parties, what about government in your community, how does that work, how do you run for office, how does voting work, what does the president do, what does Congress do, what is the Supreme Court, and what other parts are there in government. So it covers a lot of information about government. So I felt like these two books would do us well this year for civics. So that's what we do on Fridays. So that is what's in our morning basket. It's literally, we're going to read aloud, read a poem, and then do one of these things that I just showed you each day. So it takes us about 45 minutes to an hour, depending on how long of a reading we do in our read aloud, how long of a reading we do in any of these particular books. I'm aiming though for it to be about an hour or less because I don't want it to take up the whole day. That defeats the purpose of the morning basket. So that is what our plans are for this year. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know down below if you have any other questions about what we're doing this year. I already talked a bit about credits and stuff in one of my past videos. I'll link that down below if you're curious about like what our credits are going to be this year or anything like that. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you guys next time. Happy reading. Bye.